can sum up Richard by one word, and that is energy.
He always has a clarity of vision and how to execute against that vision.
But he brings with it great compassion. He brings with it a humanity that's often not always seen.
There are very few people in the biopharmaceutical world that carry themselves with the integrity and myopic focus on doing right by patients.
You gotta feel like what you're doing is making a difference. And what I like to instill in my team and what Richard instills in his team, meaning the entire company, is that what you're doing is important and what you're doing does make a difference.
Lupus in general is an autoimmune disease. It's a devastating disease. But lupus nephritis, which is when the kidneys are actually affected, is one of the most severe forms of lupus. And it essentially steals their life from them. They often can't work, they can't have children, they can't even hold relationships together. So, desperate need for medications in this patient population. And with these patients, if you get them into remissions, chances are they're not going to lose their kidneys. That's an extraordinary benefit to the patient. They get their lives back, they get to go back to work, they get to have children potentially. If the drug is successful and if we actually reproduce the results we saw in the phase 2 trial, I do think it will become the first FDA-approved and EMEA-approved drug for treating this disease.
2017 was a great year. It's actually a bit of a blur year.
I think what was very unprecedented was the extreme volatility that the company had had. A series of senior management changes, shareholder turnover.
And so when things weren't going right, and I could see that they weren't going right, my wife and I spent a lot of time discussing it, and we realized that it was probably the right time to try to step in and help.
Richard didn't have to come back to work, but he felt it was his moral duty to come and help these patients improve their quality of life. So it was worth it for him to give up the quiet solitude that we had.
So Richard had earned the respect and trust of the investment community, and he was persuaded to come back to be a CEO and chairman.
In a rapid period of time, beginning of February, Richard takes over and basically said, I'm here to lead this organization for patients, for investors, and we are going to get this drug in physicians' hands to treat patients, and I'm here with the investment community to regain your trust. And it was a perfect storm. Richard came to me and said, let's go raise as much money as we can.
We closed a public financing of about $173 million, and that was one of the largest Canadian financings for a public biotech company in history.
60 days. The total complete recharacterization of value for voclosporin and Aurinia, and then to have the investment community validate that with no pushback in that short amount of time, it just doesn't happen.
We raised adequate capital to drive the entire clinical program to its completion. So we not only completed the phase 2, had great data, we actually launched the phase 3, which is well underway right now.
It sent the clearest signal that Aurinia was not only here to stay, but we're gonna get voclosporin to lupus nephritis patients, and I will tell you the reaction amongst the most important constituents, patients, over the moon.
He's been doing this passionately for 35 years. It's not just about building one company and then retiring and collecting his capital. He's re-engaged in the ecosystem time and time again.
Richard is a role model for the founding of other companies in Canada. There's no need for him to work. So he comes from this from a different purpose. It's a purpose about fulfilling the mission and doing what he can for humanity.
Last year, we presented them with the Outstanding Corporate Leadership Award, Aurinia, Michelle, and Richard, in New York at our gala. And it was such an honor to honor them for their pioneering work.
We were at an awards ceremony, and this woman came up with a little girl.
And said, excuse me, I just want to introduce you to my daughter. And I stood up and I said hello. And she turned to her daughter and said, honey, I just want to introduce you to the man that gave your life back, was the exact words. And that was probably the most important moment for me in my career. It made me realize the importance of our work.